Hey everybody, welcome to Real Life Sci-Fi with Wade and Willy. I'm Wade.
I'm Willy.
This is a podcast about paranormal and contemporary mythology. Join us on patreon.com/reallifesci-fi for access to 2 bonus episodes a week, video feeds, and more. Also visit RealLifeSciFi.show for all of our links. And we still got to get that paranormal link out there. So look for that. Let's welcome aboard the SSRLSF. It's Willy's big brother, Jessie Ubas.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! What are you drinking? Whiskey?
Jameson.
I've got a weird Mexican beer with a fun can.
Looks very
El
threatening.
Rey.
I'm just drinking Modelo's, but I've got the both versions tonight. I'm just going back and forth.
So rocking an IPA. It's called The Game, and it looks like the Mario Brothers on the can.
Yep. I don't like IPAs. I never got into IPAs. They're fading out, I've noticed.
Well, we grew up in Colorado, so we had, Coors and Budweiser.
and then all the microbrews.
Yeah, Fat Tire started there. I left in 2005.
So we left before you did.
Yeah.
I don't think it's family drama. I didn't know what I was asking when I asked this just before we started recording. But you go by your mother's maiden name.
That's on my birth certificate.
So I remember looking at my parents' wedding picture and be like, that kid looks like Jay.
It was
Jesse. And my mom was like, no, that's your cousin.
No, I think, it could have been Bobby, because when they got married, I was only was the kid standing up? Because I was only like a year old, maybe.
Oh, yeah. So maybe that was right.
Because Bobby was a year older than me. That was Elvie's kid.
I stepped in some sort of family conspiracy because I asked if you had different fathers, and you said, that's what we think. So what is the story?
Well, my Aunt Susan, when I was 18, because I grew up as Jason Roberts, and I didn't find out that my birth certificate said Jessie Ubas until I was 16 when we went to go get my driver's license. Like, I had to wait an extra 6 months to get that sucker mailed to me, and I'm all excited when I see, I know what it is when it shows up in the mail. I ripped that thing open, and I was like, oh, they sent the wrong one. And my dad was like,
they got my name wrong.
Like, the story they gave me was, because it was during Vietnam, and Dad was in the Navy, and him and Mom were partying, and he went back out to sea because he was in the Navy. He was out on tour, and when she had me, they were like, oh, another bastard.
Yeah.
Another American bastard. So they gave me Mom's last name. I don't know where Jaceel came from. I've actually found another one, the way it's spelled and everything.
Oh, really? Mom told me that she said Jason and they just spelled it wrong.
Well, the story I got was she tried to say it and had a contraction. So who knows?
Jaceel!
And somebody spelled it phonetically. So who knows? But that was the story I was fed. And then Dad, when his tour of duty was done, they went back to Pearl, and then from Pearl they went to San Diego, and Mom almost had you on the plane on the way over there. Like, had you been born like 10 minutes sooner, you would have had like a lifetime of free air tickets.
Yeah, I know. Back then they used to do stuff like that. She had to lie about how far along she was in labor.
Yeah.
I didn't know this until later. She almost had me on the plane, and they landed in LA and then drove to San Diego and had me in San Diego.
Man.
So she was in labor for LA to San Diego. I'm like, are you fucking kidding me? And I always heard that Grandma told you that you had a different dad, not Aunt Susan. I don't know why I heard that.
No, Susan's the one that told me. When Aunt Susan gave me the recipe for chicken adobo, Mom didn't talk to her for like a month. He was mad. She finally gave up the recipe for lumpia when she was out here that last time.
Yeah, she hasn't given it to me. I said, let's make lumpia so I can get the recipe. She's like, nah, it's too much work. Like,
She spent 3 hours when she was here while I was at work. Yeah, in the kitchen for 3 hours making lumpia, and then I ate all of them. Well, all the
Why
first
doesn't what's happening in her brain where she doesn't want her children to have these
it keeps
recipes?
us coming home.
Oh.
Like if you were to call mom right now and tell her to go open her freezer, she'd probably have a Ziploc bag full of like 50 lumpia just frozen in there waiting for whoever's going to show up. Because it takes her a long time to make them. I remember when we were kids, we'd have these huge birthday parties, and mom would spend like the day before, just mom and like a couple of her friends just rolling hundreds of those suckers, and they were disappearing before as they're coming out of the fry. You know, we were just scarfing them down.
It's like egg rolls, right?
Yeah, it's like an egg roll with meat in it, but skinnier. It's like a taquito, like
no cabbage, no lettuce.
Right? No cabbage is in there. It is in there. Willie doesn't like them. He's Asian. He doesn't even like Asian food. So I mean, like I can't eat cooked fish. Once I got turned on to sushi, I was like, ching chong, ching chong. My Asian came out, and I was like, yes.
What's the one thing we told you not to do?
Sorry.
I know there were some old reviews of our show where like one of the hosts always ripping on Asians. I'm like, that's me. I'm Asian. Shut up.
Well, remember when we were kids, we always got called Mexicans.
Yeah, we grew up. I grew up Mexican and gay because people thought I was both of those things.
I think in good part due to your older brother here, right?
No. I cornered him one night and asked him. I didn't spread the rumor. I was trying to squash it. When mom first came out of the gate at the airport, it was like instant tears. She started crying. I was like, oh, I felt so bad because I have not been home since then. Like last time I was there, I introduced them to my son, Aries, and that's the last time.
Well, how old's your son?
He's 14 now.
Holy shit!
Yeah, he was barely one when we went and saw him.
Does he skate?
No, he doesn't. He plays video games and Nerf guns. He's got so many.
All right, I forgot I have things to do here. How into like the world of conspiracies are you? Like do you have like aliens and all that stuff? Is there a thing that you look into, or are you even interested in it at all?
I'm more of a matter of fact kind of person. Like if I see something, then I have to see it to believe it. Science, math, that stuff rules all. It doesn't lie. I haven't seen any ghosts, so I don't believe in them.
Have you been listening? So you said you've been listening to podcasts. Do you think that Willy's insane?
No. No, not at all.
Come on, let's beat up on Willy.
No. I did that when I was a kid. No,
I never got to.
Growing up with him, we're both weird, but in our own way. I went a different direction of weird, and he went his direction. And like he's been in Oregon a couple of times for the what is that? The alien convention.
The McMenamins. Yeah, Wade was there. We only went once, but
that one time, and she's going.
Yeah, I stopped in. We went up to the Goonies house, and then I went.
And then we had the deer out there.
McMenamins.
Well, I don't know. We could have hung out. I didn't get to meet you.
Oh.
All right. Well, we do something here on the show called the Wow Scale. Wow Scale.
Are you a Wade or are you a Willy?
Stands for Wade or Willy. It's a 5-question quiz. At the end of the quiz, I'll give you a score anywhere between 0 and 5. If you're more of a 0, you're more of a Wade. If you're more of a 5, you're more of a Willy. Are you ready to be Wade on the Wow Scale?
Probably.
All right. First question, 3-parter. Do you believe in aliens? If so, have they visited Earth? If so, have they visited Earth in the last 300 years?
I'm kind of dicey on that one. Like I haven't seen actual UFO or whatnot, but the universe is big enough. There's a large enough expanse and it's old enough where there could be a possibility. With technology today, you can't trust videos.
Mm-hmm.
The pyramids are one thing. I've heard those theories, but No, I don't believe in them right now. I think there's life on other planets, but I don't think it's been here or in the last 40 years.
Okay, so we'll go yes, no, no. Right, because you believe in life in the universe.
Nah, I mean, what makes us so special? We're in the Goldilocks zone. There's billions of planets that could fall in that space. Bacteria survives everywhere. Heat, cold.
And you said no to ghosts already, right?
Yeah.
I just want to tell you this ghost story I had from our room when we shared a room when we were in the front room. After watching Poltergeist, my whole world changed and I couldn't sleep and I was fucking scared the rest of my life. I was so just like, I'd never seen a ghost. What the fuck, man? So I thought I'd trick a ghost into revealing himself. I went into the closet and started yelling at a spot, like, I fucking see you. I know I'm not stupid, and started just cussing out this ghost. And then I got cold shivers, got scared, and I went to leave the room. And I was at least 3 feet away from the light switch, and I was reaching for it way too early, and the switch just shut off on its own. And I used to explain that, like, sometimes if we'd run out too quick, I'd hit the switch and it'd flip back up because we didn't hit it hard enough. Remember that?
Yeah.
It was a hard clicker.
Yeah.
And so I am frozen with the light switched down. And I was like, oh shit, like there's a ghost in here. And it got to the door before I did. So here I was just frozen. And then somehow I got the courage and just busted through the door. And I've never had anything else happen. So I assume it must have been some kind of like maybe a telekinetic energy thing that I did. Well, I was too far away for it to be static electricity, but that happened in our room.
Yeah. I don't remember anything like that.
Yeah, I didn't talk about it for probably 20 years.
What do you think when people tell you a ghost story? Do you believe the story or do you believe that they believe the story?
Like, I believe that you had something happen to you, and, because I don't even have stuff. Well, there's only one thing in my life where even deductive reasoning doesn't explain away what happened to us. And it was like a couple of friends when we were younger. That's the only thing I have it to compare to. You remember, I told you about this, Willie, the railroad tracks thing?
Yeah, and after you told me, I'm like, I must have been there because I remember it too. But go on.
Yeah, if you were there, we were walking along the railroad tracks, and it was, snuck out of the house. It's nighttime, maybe 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. It's a good 5-mile stretch from 57th Street to 37th. And we're walking back there. It goes behind farms and houses and whatnot, throwing rocks at the power line. As we're cruising along behind one of the farms we see out in the pasture, I see these 2 little red eyes way out there, just looking at us. And it's kind of pacing us for a little bit. So we pick up a rock and throw it out there at it. And you see it move out of the way before the rock gets there. And then we throw another one, and then all of a sudden that damn thing comes rushing towards us. We all scatter and start running. In the process of running, I trip over the railroad tie, hit the ground. As I'm getting up, I look over my shoulder, and whatever it was on the tracks with us. And I tell you what, I outran everybody else. Run faster scared than you do angry. But that's, I don't know what it was. There was no moon, so there's no lights out there.
Yeah, when you told that story, I totally remembered it because I remember seeing everybody book it, and I was like, I thought I was faster. I remember Brian and you were the fastest. But anyways, I don't remember anything else
because it was on the tracks with us when I got up and took off, and that's all I ever saw of it.
When it was on the tracks, you knew it was there just because of the red eyes?
Yeah, that's all you could see. It was the 2 red eyes. And
there's no animals that have red eyes, right?
Yeah, that's the one thing that's happened to me in my life that I can't explain scientifically. I've reasoned it out, thought about it. I'm like, I don't even know. It didn't make any sound either. We're all standing there like, what is it? And then I throw that second rock, and yeah, it came rushing. We all just took off. Run! Go!
Jesus Christ.
I will say, if you ever throw rocks at a power line, if you hit the power line, it's just the coolest fucking sound. That's why we should do it. It's sounded
sing down the line.
It's like a slinky, right? When you listen to a slinky.
Yeah, if you ting it right.
Bigfoot. You believe in Bigfoot?
No. Maybe back in the day there may have been something. Like an old great ape that. But if you think about it, what are these people trying to accomplish that go out there, like Bigfoot hunters? They're going out there blasting mating calls. What's going to happen if there's a real one and he shows up?
Maybe
there
that's
are
what they want.
Bigfoot sex stories. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, maybe these guys are encouraging them. Like,
what do you
psychics?
Psychics? I'm on the fence with that one because I've seen stuff where, some lady just had nothing to do with some criminal case, called up and they're like, no, it's over here. And she called it right off the gate, exact spot they found where the kid was. There's been evidence of that, but at the same time, there's so many.
Wouldn't you at that point, if you're a cop, just be like, oh, well, that lady did it?
Yeah,
like,
maybe, and you never know. She cut herself up. She's like, I'm innocent, but I know where it's at. No, that's one that's on the fence. I've never seen.
Have you ever visited a psychic? Have you ever gotten a reading or anything?
No, I have not. There's one down the street from my house, and I wanted to go in there and see if they knew that COVID was coming. That's kind of my feeling about it. I'm just like, but no, I've never got a reading or nothing like that. Tarot cards, no.
So we'll say no on that. All right. Have you heard of simulation theory, that we exist in the simulation?
Like the Matrix?
Yeah, kind of, yeah.
I would say a solid no.
Okay, let's see. I think you're just a 1. You're basically a 0, but you're kind of a 1 because I believe simulation theory and Willy doesn't. So it's a weird scale.
Yeah.
We'll say you're a 1. You're basically a 0. So congratulations.
Like with the simulation theory, do you take into account like Buddhism? Because then it could be what everybody's referring to as simulation theory. If if you believe in reincarnation, then you're coming back and you're coming back. I've heard the theory where the reason why babies can't communicate is because it's your old soul trapped in a new body and you don't know how to speak.
Oh my God, torture.
Yeah,
it's like that movie Look Who's Talking, only not
and
funny.
as you learn the new English language, you forget everything about your last life.
Right.
So it's God's joke.
All
right, Willy, hit us with the topic.
Tonight on Real Life Sci-Fi, the missing 411. Missing people, mainly in remote wilderness and national parks, is a huge mystery. We've talked about this topic before, but now the retired cop researcher is making an undeniable UFO connection. Could all of these missing persons have been abducted? What do you think? Tonight on Real Life Sci-Fi. So this dude, we've talked about this before, David Paulides, I think that's how you say his name. He was a cop for 20 years.
Boo.
He was in San Jose. He did patrol. He did SWAT. He did street crimes. He did detective work. He was looking into people missing and cold cases and whatnot. And a couple of forest rangers hit him up at one point and said, hey, man, there's some weird shit going on in the national parks. So he started asking around, and the national park basically said, hey, we don't keep information on missing people. We don't keep any of that. We don't have the names of people missing. We don't know where they were missing from. If you wanted that information, it would cost you $1.4 million to get that information.
You make it sound like they were extorting him. Is that just...
That's his story. And like, how could they put a number to it when they actually didn't have the information?
I don't know, like a FOIA request costs like $50, right? Or something.
Yeah, they're charging them for their time before they start looking for the information he wants.
Right.
So at this point, he started collecting all of his own information dating back to even the 1800s. And he amassed so many missing persons in the national park system that he wrote 2 books in like 2010, 2012. Missing 411 Eastern US, Missing 411 Western and Canada. And then of recent, he made a new book that was just focusing on hunters that were missing. There's so many hunters gone missing, which is an anomaly. And his latest book is the UFO Connection. So he has taken, basically this whole topic got started because I saw this person had this map of the missing 411 and put it over the UFO hotspots in America. and it was like the same map. I was like, holy shit, man. And so he reached out to an ex-FBI guy who basically was a molder. He was a guy, they'd put him on X-Files cases. He also did detective work for both of the World Trade Center incidents, and he's been used as a witness like 100 times in trials and whatnot. And so this dude, this other dude, his name is John LaSouza. So at any rate, what like they talked about how the overall thing is a lot of times where these people have gone missing, other people over the years have gone missing there too. There have been UFO sightings there all the time. And this FBI guy, when they were doing research, he set up like a CCTV camera, setting it up for cow mutilations and whatnot, like thinking that they treated it as vandalism. And he was saying that cow mutilations happened in a flash of light. It was like they have the cameras up, they've caught some on camera, and it's just like a fraction of a second, there's a flash of light, and then cow mutilations are there.
Okay, but where's the video? You've got it on video, so let's see it.
I've seen the pictures of cow mutilations, and like there's no tracks around the body except for the ones that the guys created themselves. But I've never heard anything about the videos.
Right. Well, he was saying that when he worked for the FBI, the way that it always went down was whenever they helped out with the missing persons in national parks, it was always at the request of these other small departments. And so if they're coming in to help, they don't keep records. And if they do, they get lost to some higher up, and they're told not to ask about things, not to look into things.
Sweep it under the rug.
Yeah, and so he's a whistleblower too, coming out being like, you know what, the FBI has too much power, and they definitely have a lot of information. And then the Canada Mounted Patrol, there was a girl that was interviewed who was one for like a long time, and she said that they definitely had a protocol to do when there was a UFO case. And it was really to just turn it in, hand it over to somebody, and then never talk about it again. So it's weird because neither of you guys believe in aliens or that they're here. And a lot of the missing 411 stories have people like somebody's walking behind me, we're in the forest, I turn around and you're gone. There's a lot of just disappearing in an instant story with no tracks, no scent for the somebody was pointing out, they're like, oh, it can't be that abnormal for a dog to not get a scent. But when they find pieces of their clothing or whatnot and they can't get a scent, that's pretty weird. So what this guy started doing for the UFO Connection, okay, let's take all the anomalies, let's take all the weird things and try to categorize something, try to draw some connections. One of them is anytime they're around water. If they disappear around water, if they disappear instantly, if there's no scent picked up by the dog. Going back to this FBI guy, John LaSouza, he was saying that whenever he had a strange encounter, or something that he thought was strange, he was saying that the coyotes and wolves won't go near the carcasses of like cow mutilations.
Yeah.
Or people that have been abducted. A lot of times these people, if they ever do find their body, they find their body in a place that had been searched over and over and over, as if it like got put back there later. So I'm just going to jump right into the crazy, right? This guy, John LaSouza, says all of his research says that there is some extra dimensionality going on, and that these people are disappearing because they are either slipping into another dimension or being taken. And the evidence is gone because there's no crime scene. There's no evidence of an animal or blood or anything. And so he believes that there is some sort of dimensional creature abducting people.
When we talked about this the first time, wasn't there also like if children, or maybe it was just one, I don't know if it was a bunch or not, but like they found their clothes like folded up or something like that?
Yes, that's a normal thing too. One of the stories I read today, they found the guy's clothes folded up with his rifle next to the clothes and then a gun up on top of the mountain.
Yeah, I saw that one. That part doesn't make any sense because there's no tracks in between the three spots. And there
no tracks, no sense. These are hunters that know what they're doing. That's the crazy thing. I want to read the hunter's book because I'm like, if you know any hunter that's hunted in an area for too long, like, sure, there's a chance that they could fuck up, go missing, be stupid, but it's not likely.
You're not going to scatter all your stuff around either, not purposely, unless there's something weird going on.
I know I can't explain that, but I can explain hunters, and they usually just drink beer and hang out.
Oh, that's, you know what? That's a good call. You know,
They're not like serious dudes. They just go out to like it's like golfers.
Yeah.
They're not good at golf, but they do it, you
Oh,
know.
maybe back when we were growing up, I mean, it's gotten a little, people used to get away with a lot of stuff back then. Now you can't really party too hard in the woods, and everything's there's so many park rangers out there that
Yeah, but you
can't.
can drink, can't you? Can't you just have
Well,
beers? Don't isn't that what they do? They sit up in those lookabouts, or what do they call the
okay. Yeah, because they can't smoke the day before you go out hunting.
what
You walk
about bow hunting? Can you do it when you're bow hunting?
probably half the people that are out there are probably drinking when they're camping, but
I'm not saying that
I don't see
explains
them going
anything. I'm
drunk
just
enough
saying
to scatter all your crap in the woods and go
no,
miss.
no. Listen, I believe
They're
these
partying
people are
hard.
missing and it's mysterious. I just don't think hunters are like they're just dudes. They're just
they shouldn't be
guys.
on a
Yeah, they're human.
pedestal of like surviving the wilderness.
Right.
Yeah, they're not all what's his name?
Bear Grylls?
Yeah, they're not all Bear Grylls with a gun. Half these guys could probably barely start a fire, but somebody gave them a gun.
I mean, my friends are hunters and they're morons. One of them's a cop. So there you go. There's no dumber people than cops, is what I mean. I'm sorry, cops. If you're a cop, I'm sorry. Not really. It's well, so here's the thing. It's hard to talk about because like these are
And they have
if these
documented reports that these people went missing, and that's where I'm on the fence with the alien thing, because they've got incidences where you can't explain where this person went. Like they know that he was here, and then all of a sudden he's gone, and
well, listen,
Yeah,
we know
so
you don't believe in Bigfoot, but there is a theory that Bigfoot is an interdimensional traveler.
well,
So oh, you've got a Bigfoot angle. Take it away.
So both of these guys, David Paulides and John LaSouza, they do believe that Bigfoot is one of these interdimensional travelers. They always get hair samples of Bigfoot. And what they both said was that any lab that you send off these hairs to will always come back and say undetermined results, because most of these labs need to renew their license every year. And they don't think that their license will get renewed if they're like, it's a new species out here. And the guy said even the FBI lab does that. They always will say undetermined results because nobody wants to stick their head out and say, "Yep, we got one." And I thought that was interesting because I'm like, I didn't know that they had to renew their license every year. And that was a good, I don't know, because David was saying, yeah, I have tons of not that he has it, but he wrote a book about Bigfoot before all this stuff. He was searching for him.
Who's David?
David Paulides. He's the one who wrote the Missing 411 books. They're documentaries now, but you can't find the documentaries anywhere. I don't know if that's on purpose or not, but you can't find them.
They're probably pieces of shit.
Wow.
Nobody wanted to distribute it because they're like, this is going to waste our money. This sucks. It looks like it was shot by a dad in the 50s.
Texas is a hardcore state, but somebody painted a piece of canvas with human turds, and they've got it hanging in a museum, so anything's possible.
Wait, is this in Texas?
Yeah.
Let me tell one specific incident that was pretty crazy.
Okay.
And this dude was interviewed. He's still alive. In 1974, Carl Higdon, I believe, was abducted from the some national forest. They were fucking well, basically, he was hunting. He saw 5 elk, and he's like, "Oh, it's crazy. They're not moving." Pulls out his gun, goes to shoot it, and it hit an invisible wall. His bullet. He retrieved the bullet, and you can look at what that bullet looks like. It's just smashed weird. Then some dude came out in a black suit he said he looked kind of human, but he drew him kind of like Greedo, where he had 2 dots with like weird spikes coming out of his head, and one hand was a cone. And the guy asked him if he was hungry, and he was like, "Yeah, sure." And the guy threw 4 pills at him. He took 1 pill. Then he woke up in this metallic cube. Okay. And in the cube were the 5 elk that were with him. and he was there. The guy basically said the creature, the guy said to him, you know what? And he said his lips never moved. He's like, what are you doing here? Well, we're here to get food. We come here every now and then to get food. And then he says, we don't need you, so you're going to go back. You're going to be fine. And the guy goes back and tells a story and has drawings. He's still, at the time of this documentary, he was still alive. His story still matched, but he said the reason why he thought they didn't keep him was because he had a vasectomy, and he thought they would have kept him if he still had the reproducing parts. And there was another guy abducted in the same area 35 years later.
Oh, all right, hang on.
Yeah, go on.
There's so many things about this story that I need to make fun of.
Yeah.
First of all, these aliens can travel through the cosmos, but they can't reverse a vasectomy. We can do that.
I know, and sometimes they don't work, especially older ones.
Secondly, a Greedo comes up to you and says, "What's up?" and gives you pills, and you take one.
I know.
You're the stupidest person in the world.
I'm like,
why would you take a pill given to you by an
this?
alien?
Are you hungry? Here, eat this.
He didn't even put it in a beer or anything. He just gave him a pill, and the guy took it. Come on.
Space roofies.
This is a dream that the guy had. There's no way that happened.
He's got the bullet that hit the clear.
Oh, I'm sure, but here's the thing: you could show me any bullet.
You
I
can
don't
fire
know what
a bullet
a
at a
bullet
wall, and
yeah,
same result. Go get a quarter inch thick piece of steel, and put it in your backyard.
Yeah,
and bam, spray paint,
you know,
some
and
dark green paint on it. Woo!
His wife was still alive, and he was missing for a while. They looked for him for a while, and then they
wait.
found
How long
him.
was he? How long was he gone, or whatever?
I don't know. I don't
enough that they were looking for him. So more than a couple days.
Yeah, and it felt like what?
Person's report. You have to be gone 24 hours. So at least 24 hours. But
so at least 24 hours, this guy was gone.
I mean, what condition was he in when he got back?
I don't remember because he wasn't in good condition for the interview, but like they still had his old drawings.
Well, yeah, he was too old for the interview and stuff, but like just in terms of the story, was it like that Fire in the Sky movie or whatever? Where did he come back to?
Not in the exact same place, just the same area. And his wife, when she was talking, I think she said something like she had a feeling he was going to come back, so she grabbed the sheriff, and then they went and found him. It was like it was communicated to her telepathically that he was getting put back.
That kind of checks off two boxes: the alien and the psychic ability.
And,
well, yeah, or the aliens or the psychics.
Yeah, maybe.
So one of the things being around water was intriguing to me. Like one of the first stories I looked at, and I forget the names of the people, I didn't write it down, but there were 2 missing reports that were like in the vicinity of Mel's Hole that we talked about recently, just this random hole that the government took over that was very paranormal. And then one of these other stories was right around, Warren Air Force Base. And in relation to that, they had military come help looking for the missing people, which they never do. Well, the Green Berets, they had like Green Berets helping to look. I'm like, they don't do that unless...
Well, exactly. They don't do that. So like, who's saying this?
All the stuff is official. You can find information on the reports. He will always request freedom of information act stuff. And he's gotten stuff back that's been redacted. And he's also not gotten stuff back. But when you interview these, like a lot of the interviews are with like retired sheriffs that work the area during the missing person. So there's a huge line of credibility happening.
Like which part of it that he was missing?
Yeah.
What year was this, or around?
That one dude, it was 1974 that claimed he went into the craft.
Okay. The other thing is aliens, they travel through the cosmos, but they have to get deer to eat.
Well, I mean, so what the main story is right now is that they're not from other star systems. They're from parallel dimensions here, and that their way into their dimension is usually through water.
Right.
Something about the water allows them to jump dimensions. What if it was parallel dimensions? What if not all of them were being abducted and there were just random openings happening in areas where they travel through?
When you told me what we were going to be talking about, I looked into it and I checked out that video that you sent me, and the one that caught my eye was those 4 Mexican guys that were planting trees in Washington. That's not too far away from where I'm at now. And they watched something come in. Most of the herd scattered. one elk didn't move. It froze. They picked it up and then flew off over the next ridge or something like that. And you've got four people that were standing there and they're all telling the same damn story. That kind of stuff. They were willing to actually come forward and talk about it too. So, like what else do they have to lose? The video, the guy said a couple days later they found the body of the elk, quote unquote. It was same like it just been dropped from the sky or whatnot.
Wait, they didn't even eat it or anything? I mean, like, what did it have?
No,
Like, did it have the weird cow mutilation stuff or
I think
nothing?
that's what it was more like, but like I just briefly looked into it right before you,
Right.
and that was the one that stood out to me because they had a hard time talking to those four guys because they only spoke Spanish, so they called some guy in California to come out there, and then he started telling them, and like these guys were having nightmares, and
the craziest thing about all of this stuff opened up for me was it's cool to hear these paranormal stories. It's cool to hear different accounts of things that are, I wouldn't say pushed under a rug, but that you don't need to push it under a rug if no one's like walking into the area where the rug is, if that, whatever parallel that is.
Well, it just seems like the easiest thing to suppress because not a lot of people are looking into it.
It's standard practice for airlines to make pilots suppress anything they see weird in the sky for the longest time. If you were like, yeah, there was something chasing my plane, doing circles around it, they ground you. If you bring it up.
Wings. Yeah. And so to hear that the FBI too just has a thing where it was just like, there's somebody higher up that is taking this stuff and it's going nowhere. And you're not supposed to talk about it. You just do what you're told.
I mean, yeah, ideally, I mean, maybe not even ideally, but like the more realistic version of that is it goes into a file cabinet and no one ever looks at it.
Well, now, if you want to go conspiracy theory, maybe the government is perpetually helping the whole hoax of UFOs along because they're hiding their own technology, or it just keeps everybody looking one direction while they're doing something else the other direction.
I could believe that maybe we're secretly doing tests on people because they've been doing it since the history of our government. Just I was watching something today where they released this gas into San Francisco for a few days just to see this toxic gas.
You know what I heard? When Ben Franklin discovered electricity, it wasn't a key on a kite, it was a child. That's what I heard. So
and he was bleeding.
What, Jesse, what do you think? Like, you looked into it, you've heard Willy, like, do you these missing people, I guess, let's just go to that.
There is tangible evidence.
Is your mind open enough? Is your mind open enough to acknowledge the interdimensional aspect of it? Like, could that be a possibility, or what do you think?
I don't know. Like I said, I'm open to all possibilities. Life's thrown me curveballs when I least expected it, and so at the same time, I gotta see it happen. Like they have tangible proof that these people are missing, and some of them have shown up like days later in the same area where people have done thorough searches, but there's no explanation.
Yeah.
So I don't know. It's hard for me to pin down.
What about the idea that both these guys are saying that there's plenty of Bigfoot DNA and hairs out there that labs won't acknowledge? What do you guys think of that?
I think it's suspicious that they're, not saying anything, but there is some weight to the fact, like what Wade said, maybe, or one of you guys said that their licenses have to be renewed every year, and it's just like the pilots. If they say something about a UFO in public, then they get benched for a month or two and have to do some evaluations.
The thing about that bumps with me is like that the FDA doesn't even like approve drugs. Like drugs companies just have their own like FDA in-house dude
Oh yeah,
that says like, yeah, this is
anybody.
like, okay. What?
You can pay for anybody. You give enough money to anybody, they're going to be like, oh yeah, this is good for you. You know, how do you think cigarettes got out?
But that's what I mean, though, when there's like that little oversight into like, fucking what's the drug that's killing everyone? Or
And
not the one now, the
Oxycontin.
Oh, Oxycontin,
Oxycontin.
yeah.
Like they just kind of like had their own guy approve that. And I'm kind of like, well, but then like these labs who are testing like crimes are going to be scrutinized to a point where like that's the only reason where I'm like,
It's just who's got the
reality
most
just
money.
isn't fitting with like what I imagine this, or this story isn't fitting with what I imagine the reality is, which is I doubt that there's that much oversight in any of it, that they would lose their license to be a lab,
Well, you know, they want to keep it a secret if it's actually happening, or, you know, it's just you don't want to ruin your own reputation by being the ones that prove you got.
I think it is, yeah, it's suspicious for sure. Is there, but is the what's the rule, the easy or the most simple rule is probably the explanation. What's that thing?
Keep it simple, stupid. Um,
I just mean like, can we even entertain that like it was inconclusive? Like what if the hair is just like a bunch of bird's nest stuff and they're like, it's like, I don't know, this is like a bunch of shit, man. It's inconclusive.
I'm sure they'd be the ones to first tell you that it was. You know, it's like when NASA used to, you know, when the space shuttle used to go up, you could watch live casts from their cameras on the outside of the space shuttle. You can do it on the space station for a long time there. You'd start seeing something weird outside the space shuttle or the space station, and NASA would kill the cameras. You know, and they wouldn't say why. They wouldn't even give you the dignity of we're having technical difficulties.
Yeah, yeah. Or
cameras off.
like they explain, oh, these are ice crystals.
Yeah. And
All right, Jesse, I'm bumping you up. I'm bumping you up to like a 3 now, because now you're just saying a bunch of shit that your brother's already
no,
said.
yeah, no, I've seen it. You know,
well, it wasn't covered in the test. It's my fault.
Well, you know, but I can't explain it. You know, I've watched it on video live. You know, supposedly, because you can do a lot of stuff on cameras and whatnot, but NASA doesn't usually kill the feed unless something weird's going on. And they have a tendency of doing it when they see something weird come flying into the screen. They're like, well, what is that?
All right, well, let's do this. This is the question that we'll end the episode on. The entire thing about the 411 people, the missing 411 people, and all this mystery and everything. You're saying that it's aliens, right, Willie? I mean, or interdimensional people, whatever. You're saying that it's not just missing people. There's something bigger.
They're not getting lost. They're not getting kidnapped.
Right. They're not folding up their clothes and then like walking naked 20 feet or yards or miles.
Yeah, which I know can happen during hypothermia or whatever. But like the first time we did 411, in my head, what I leaned towards was that there were still feral people living in the national parks.
What happened? You don't think that anymore?
I totally am down with interdimensional either accidents. They don't all have to be abductions. If they are traveling interdimensionally and there was some kind of just door open that somebody could fall through, I could see that too. That's pretty.
Well, I mean, look at Back to the Future. He crashed into the Twin Pines and made it Lone Pine. So
yeah.
why can't a person fall into some weird interdimensional thing? But doesn't this just mean don't do outdoorsy stuff? Because that's all I've been thinking is like, well, thank God this will never happen to me because I've never been to a national park and I never will.
I know. I'm just like, to me, it means always hold hands or keep an eye. If they're being taken, why is it that people would be taken from a group just when they weren't looking for a second? They'll never figure it out.
here's the other thing too. Look at it from this side. How good of friends were you with that group if they didn't notice and all of a sudden you were gone in a bright light?
100%. I put myself in that guy's position. You don't know how many times I've been hanging out with a bunch of people and I'll say something and like no one even hears it. They all just go on with their own conversation. I guarantee you these people that got abducted were
He's
just
like,
kind
"Hey,
of
what's
like
that?
they're just,
Go over here.
Whoa,
they're
whoa,
just
help,
doormats
help.
that their friends didn't like
Where'd
that
Wade go?"
much.
But like my question is, the guys that 'cause some of these they were found. Were all of them dead when they were found, and were they
Yeah.
naked?
Yeah.
Were they?
There's not a consistent answer to it, but like one person that was found, he was found, he just needed to hike back to his little camp spot, and he was found miles away, and days later somebody ran into him, gave him some food, and thought that he still looked okay. So I think my version of that story is, oh, they took him, then they dropped him back off, but it wasn't in the right area, and then like they determined that where they found him, there's no way anybody could have been hiking back there. They had 20-foot snow drifts, and he was found with his pants and his underwear around his ankles, but most of it was like deteriorated in a way that like was not natural. And
Does that mean that to travel interdimensionally you have to be naked? Is that why they fold up the clothes and stuff?
there was one dude that they found his rifle and his fanny pack.
Or are they just perverts? Are they perverts or is it energy
And why are so
stuff?
many people having anal probing things when it comes to alien abduction?
Yeah, are they perverts, Willie?
My answer is there must be multiple races because there's nothing too consistent. Maybe one of them's just eating the deer. Maybe one of them's fucking mutilating.
Or a waypoint on the galactic map, and they're like, "Ah, if you guys need some food or water, hit this spot."
Anytime I'm scared of something, I always assume that story's out there to scare people. But there was one of the first abduction stories I heard where they said it was hidden because it proved that some aliens ate humans.
This story?
The story was more hidden than most abduction stories because this one, the guy was half eaten.
All right.
From my point of view, maybe that one should have been pushed forward so people would be more afraid of it. You know what I mean? I'm like,
run from the light, run.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. Be afraid of something I've never experienced, experienced and wouldn't even know.
Human nature is to be afraid of something that you don't understand.
Right.
Why we have that fight or flight instinct, but yeah, waking up naked somewhere or with your pants around your ankles in the middle of the snow, that'd be kind of disturbing.
It's just so weird that they're all naked and stuff. I think these guys are pervs.
Well, from most of the stories that I've heard, I'm like, yes, they are taking sperm and eggs. I think
well, yeah, because you have the whole thing where they're like making hybrid people and then like putting them into society and then they become president, right?
Well, I mean, if you want to go that route, think about how substantially taller basketball players have gotten in the last 20 years. I remember when seeing a giant was like, a guy that was 6'10". Now they've got like guys that are almost 8 feet tall, and you're like, whoa, on a regular basis. Massive human beings.
They're not. We're getting tall again.
Well, but we are taller now. We're just taller because we don't have to fight tigers anymore.
It happened fast. Like between what is it, the Stone Age and up until recent history, it took a couple thousand years for human beings to go 6 inches. And then in the last 20 years, we watched them jump a foot.
I would love it if there were stories of like, Jesus was like 7'2" and Moses was like 5 foot.
And they lived till they were 800, so I mean, at least that's what it says.
They did?
The Bible said what Moses was like close to 800 years old.
Yeah,
Jesus Christ.
there's some old stories like that. Yeah.
Why do people believe
Um,
that? It's just a bunch
Well,
of
no,
dumb
you know,
cops
like
reading the Bible.
back in the day when they would teach all the Catholic sermons, they'd give them to you in Latin, and nobody spoke Latin. So the guy could
Yeah.
actually be reading from the Bible and then be like, "Yeah, on the first night of your wedding, I get to have prima nocta with your wife,"
Right.
when he's actually reading from the Bible, and nobody knew what he was saying. And that's, you know, that was the balance of power back in the day.
I was thinking about that with Otani right now. Have you guys been following Otani and how he's like he's getting in trouble? You know Otani, the baseball. He's like he's this
he just had
phenom
a
pitcher hitter.
$700 million deal for the Dodgers.
He's in big trouble now for gambling.
And Pete Rose
But
is
it's
sitting on the side just watching.
yeah.
Lifetime.
But I imagine
Come on.
like the
We're talking about baseball where they still have Mark McGuire and Sammy Sosa and everybody, Barry Bonds, in the record book, even though they admitted being, you know, using steroids. They just put an asterisk on there. It's like, no,
right.
You know, they
But
admitted.
to your preacher or pastor or whatever they call him, like the Latin guy, like I feel like maybe this translator, I mean, he could be saying anything that Otani could just be going like, this guy stole a bunch of money from me, right? And he's like, he gave it to me for gambling debts.
His buddy's the one that stole from him. Like, I'm his translator too. He said he
well,
signed it
that's
over.
the story now.
I've got a
The
notarized
translator
check.
said so. So you're going to jail, Otani. I don't know.
All the paperwork's in English and he can't read.
All right. Let's wrap it up.
I would say the more that you look into these cases, there's so many disappearances that are basically impossible for someone to disappear in some of these situations. Sure, you know, and I'm not saying the hunters that should know what they're doing, but like
I can get a guy who can disappear anyone for you if you're interested. It's not hard.
But just like, you know, we were talking and then a second later they're gone.
Yeah, those are the tricky ones.
Yeah. And you know, I like
that
this
happened
quote.
to me. Listen, real quick. That happened to me. I was at this church lock-in with a bunch of dorks, you know. I didn't go to the church. I was just there because I liked this girl. And they were like, let's they're like being bad church people. And they're like, I'm in, you know, 8th grade or I don't even know, 9th, 10th, something. And they're like, let's go ding dong ditch the preacher or whatever who like lived across the street. So I'm like, okay. So we're like walking outside and they're all like scared and stuff. And I'm in front of them, even though I don't know where the house is. And I'm like, all right, so which one is it? Like, where are we going? And then I turn around and they all ran back inside, but I couldn't hear it. So I'm just saying it's happened to me. I turned around and like 5 people were gone. And then this asshole in the group was like, you got scared. And I was like, what? I was the only one out there. What are you so mad at that guy? He was like a bully to me. I was tiny in high school, so I couldn't do anything about it. But anyway, I'm sorry. Finish your button.
I like this quote that this guy was given to him, is that our government will never acknowledge anything they can't control. And it makes me go like, if they did know anything weird in this paranormal realm, there's no way that they'd just come out and just spill the beans. Like, all right, guys, listen up. This is what's happening.
There's no
it's
reason
weird.
to, yeah.
And then through all of his investigations that I've seen, he's proven that certain departments definitely will send up these paranormal stories to somebody, so they're keeping track of them, or they're getting lost, you know. So he's like proven that the paperwork is being concealed from us, whether it be Freedom of Information Acts denied, Freedom of Information Acts retracted for a missing person, and then just the fact that like so many of these stories went to higher ups that went nowhere. There's proof of a negligence.
Okay, you know how I always am like, who cares? And then like Aaron yelled at me or whatever. But like, I'm not saying who cares. I'm not saying who cares. I'm saying I have to be apathetic about this in the same way that I'm apathetic about like voting, because It's kind of like, oh yeah, I mean, you guys are doing your thing and you're making it seem like I have some sort of choice here. So like when Willie, you're saying like these things are getting sent up, it's like if I believe you or if I don't, I'm still in the same place where I am. And it's this helpless sort of like, and that's why I say who cares? And it's not about like this doesn't matter. It's more about like there's
What
no
can you do?
actionable thing to do. Yeah.
Right. I'm like, can we get rid of the electoral college? I don't think we can. I don't think we can get rid of it.
Yeah. Can we make them tell us everything about aliens? No. Like
They won't even tell us what we're spending all our money on.
exactly. So it's kind of like that, and it's a frustrating thing. And I guess my who cares is more like just a frustration of like I even if I believe you, it's like now what? It's just frustrating.
I have the same sentiment. It's just like, what can I do? Basically nothing
You
right
know,
now.
I feel heart. I feel sorrow for the families that are, that still have people that disappeared for no reason because, they're feeling something and that person's not in their lives anymore. But at the same time, some of the circumstances are so outlandish, it makes it hard to believe. I get it that, some of those stories, a guy was standing right next to that person and he turned around and he was gone. And they thorough search and nobody was around. And, I can't imagine what that person feels like, the guilt he must feel because he was there with him and he's gone. And then the family, how they're feeling.
I mean, maybe these aliens are like assholes or whatever, and they don't really care. But if they have this like, remember how the lady knew where he was going to be or whatever, and she took the sheriff and they found him right away because of like we're guessing the aliens psychically talked to her.
Some kind of empathy.
Yeah, why wouldn't they just like psychically tell the people like it's okay? Like in Defending Your Life where Meryl Streep's like, yeah, I had kids and stuff, but I don't really it feels okay because she's like in heaven or in the before heaven where they just like made her feel okay. Why don't the aliens just like make people feel okay?
I know, and it makes me question if like they think they're putting him back, but it's like, oh, whoops, I didn't realize I dropped him in the lake.
Well, and that's the other thing. These guys are like morons.
Well, no, like look at it like us. We use lab mice, test makeup on, stuff like that. Maybe it's kind of like that, where they think we're an insignificant species and they can do what they will with.
I don't know. If I had the power,
about that lab mouse that they're putting eyeliner on, it gives you cancer.
I do. I definitely would. If I was doing that with I talk to my plants, man. If I took a poison little rat and tried to make his death more comforting because I'm not I'm not trying to build myself up here. I'm just saying like if you had the ability to like psychically tell that mouse like it's okay, like it's gonna be okay. You know what I mean? You're lying, but
just like, for a second.
Yeah, like
it seems to be the running story with the aliens. Oh yeah, just hold your breath for a second, relax.
Right. Take these 3 pills. Yeah. You're hungry? Take some pills.
Hungry?
Here
you go.
What are you going to learn from probing anyways?
These are Jetson's food pellets. They'll make you hungry. Now take off your pants.
Yes.
Well, Jesse, do you I mean, we've got this whole audience here. Do you have anything online you want to point them to, or do you want to, I don't know, shout out a cause? You got anything?
Be nice to each other.
A good one.
Common sense too. That's been lacking in a lot of people lately.
All right, I co-sign that. Are you gonna stick? You're gonna stick around and do the bonus, right?
Oh yeah.
Okay, cool. So we're gonna be here talking to Jessie Ubas. It could go anywhere. We've got a lifetime of stories between these two. So I don't know what we're going to talk about, but thank you for listening. And remember, go to patreon.com/RealLifeSciFi. Get access to our 2 bonus episodes. That's where we'll be continuing this conversation with Jessie. Jessie, thank you so much for being here. And
thank you.
Of course. Just because you're paranoid doesn't mean they're not after you. See you next time.
Sci-Fi.